Hey, everybody, welcome back to Conversations in Ken's Cafe. We have a wonderful gentleman with us today by the name of Claude Robert, and he works with Anatis Bioprotection. And if you guys don't know who that is, they produce insects to battle a lot of our pest problems in indoor grows, in outdoor grows. Uh, it's one of those things, if you got insects, it's always better to use another insect to consume them, which works into our predator prey model. So, Claude, I know you've been on our Conversations in Kent's Cafe before. You've been on the Soil Matters before. So I'm not going to go into your history because people can go back and watch your history. Tell us what is new in IPM that you're finding, this spring, I guess, over the winter and into this spring.
Yes. So, hi everyone. It's really a pleasure to be on these shows. Um, so at Anatis, first of all, we the company branched out in two sectors. So now there.
Okay.
So now I work principally, but I still work for Anatis Bioprotection. But now they're Anatis Bioprotection IPM. So Anatis Bioprotection is now solely the biopesticides. So, in fact, at Anatis, we have our own strain of Bovaria bassiana. It's an entomopathogen mushroom that will attack aphids, thrips, whiteflies, other pests like Japanese beetle, grubs, white grubs, chinch bugs. So we have it for turf, for greenhouse, for outdoor crops against the Colorado potato beetle, but it doesn't affect, if you use it well, doesn't affect pollinators, doesn't affect, it's certified organic by EcoCert. It's listed OMRI. It's a 0 hour delay before harvest. So the farmer could have sprayed some in the morning and the day before, and you harvest your tomatoes and there's no issues there. So that's one part. We're working on a new mushroom that will be against diphtheria flies, because in cabbages and other crops like that, there's a lot of cabbage fly. It's a big, and people don't have much resources, organic growers, and they can lose a lot because this problem, in fact, I won't come back to the essence. If everybody was doing permaculture, I would just do research, because in fact at Anatis, what we're rebalancing the ecosystems of monocultures. Where in monoculture, usually the problem happens because usually there'll be one single cultivar in a field or in a total greenhouse.
Yep.
And then the pest shows up, and then it's a party for the pest, So we need to prevent these things and be aware of the pest that could show up in either crop that we're looking after.
So basically, what I'm hearing is you're basically rebalancing the predator prey. So if the predator's coming in attacking the plant, you're bringing the prey species in. Are you going like more in depth? Are you bringing in a predator species for your original predator if they get out of hand, or does it just generally end up balancing the populations out?
So if we're doing biocontrol, the key, first of all, is to plan ahead. So you know your crop, you know your setting, you have an history of pest or disease, things like that could happen. Also, you have to know the nature of your plant. Is it tomato with trichomes? That are very irritating for any bug that shows up on the plant. Is it like cannabis with trichomes? They're very sticky. So that way we have certain predators we cannot use on these plants because they don't find them welcoming. There are some like the rove beetle. I used to, like in the beginning, some people wanted it. I said, now you're growing cannabis, don't use it, because at the end, the adults will stick in the flower and they get trapped in the trichomes and they die there. So it contaminates the product. So that way we use other predators that are more adapted to that crop. So realign me with your question because I was going.
Well, like I'm talking about the predator prey, where you're bringing in one. You sometimes have to bring in their predator if they get out of balance.
Okay, so first of all so in fact they're all like biological control agents. So the mushroom I was talking about that makes the product Bioceres and BioTitan, it's available in the USA too. We have the wettable powder. We have a liquid formula that's an oil-based formula, emulsified. It's an organic sunflower oil. And it's also registered against as powder mite because the oil will suffocate the mites. So we can use it for that. And we have the JR, the granular. This will be used for between vineyards against the Japanese beetle to get the grubs on turf. So now the municipalities, they're phasing out all the chemical pesticide. That's a good thing. So they'll have a choice with nematodes, bacteria, or our mushroom. So us, we supply nematodes and we supply the mushroom. We don't have the bacteria. That's another company has it. But now all lawns will be really safe for people play on them, and like children and the pets.
Yep.
And so to come back, everything that we have. So one part is the mushroom. That's the entomopathogens. And the other part is all the nematodes, parasitoids, predatory mites, and predatory insects. And all of these, there was a mistake done in the past, like 30 years ago. They introduced the Asian lady beetle, Anatis, and this is a problem because it's a competitor of all other ladybird beetle species, our 563 species that we have in Canada. And because they even predate the other ladybug beetles, they're not adapted to our winters like here up north in Quebec or Ontario. They have to get into the houses in the winter. They bite, they stink. So that was a big mistake. Now, every predator that we supply has to be either native or non-invasive, of no danger to people or pets, and won't cause any problem to your plants. And most of them, like let's say we use Phytocilius persimilis, which is really known against spider mites. And this mite only eats spider mites or themselves. So once the problem is solved, they'll cannibalize each other, they'll disappear. Let's say another mite we use, Neurocilius cucumeris. We use it mainly against thrips and sometimes brown mites too. They will wander off and die of hunger if they don't have anything to eat afterwards. But certain mites will have trouble walking across trichomes or things like that. So I tend to use certain predators for certain crops, like depending on if the leaves are very, they don't have any trichome, they're very, the term.
Well, ones that are not going to get stuck to, etc., and interfere with. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
So exactly. I know, like you just mentioned, that you can't release anything until it's been observed in our natural environment. I know you guys, the first show that we did with you, Claude, you were talking about the crazy mite, which is one that just runs everywhere. And you couldn't sell it into the States until they found it down there in nature.
And they did. And so they did. So Applied Bionomics as from our friends for BC. So in fact, we work with Applied Bionomics where they are on near Nanaimo and on the beautiful island of Vancouver. And they've been there before us. And they produce unique things. Because we produce a lot of our predatory mites and insects ourselves, south of Montreal in Saint-Jacques-le-Mineur, but we work in collaboration with others, like with Applied, because we cannot do everything ourselves, and they have unique things like Gyroleolaps gillespii, which is the cousin of Streptolelaps simitus, which a lot of people know under the name Hippoaspis mouse, or under the brand products of other companies like Entomide ambisus system, hypoaspis system.
Mhm.
So these mites are used in the soil to balance the soil to get rid of fungus gnat larvae and pupae of thrips, the pupa and the pupa of thrips that are on the soil, and other pests too, other invertebrates. If you want to control in your living soil a population that's too important of springtails or other pests, that could be beneficial but become pests when there are too many,
Yeah.
because they will like stress the roots of the plant. Then you need these predatory mites, Stratiolate and Organolapse, to be there present in your soil. So they'll balance everything, nothing
Mhm.
will get out of hand, and they'll prey on all the fungus gnat larvae or
Mhm.
shore fly larvae that's in the soil that you
So
want to.
when you're making a plan for a farmer, you're taking into account the uh, transition of life, through the insect population that's necessary to create that balance. What's that kind of look like? Is it like a package of 10 different bugs, or how far do you guys go in programming what is missing basically out of the environment to bring it back into balance?
Yeah, so every grow is different. Um,
Hmm.
so every place is different. Not everybody is doing living soil. A lot of people are doing cocoa and things like
Hmm.
that, or even hydroponics. So I take care of all crops. A lot of people were conventional, using chemical and everything. They're in transition, especially the sector of ornamentals, all the
Hmm.
flowers that we look at and everything, the house plants and the tropicals and things like that. Now they have a big demand from their customers, the public, to have everything organic,
Hmm.
because it was a lot cheaper for them, but they've seen a lot of pests that develop resistance, and
Hmm.
it's not good for the environment, for the health of their workers, their customers, everything. Everything is connected. So,
Yep.
so a lot of them are transitioning. So we're helping them. We're helping
Cool.
also other customers to have an organic branch in their business. Like I went to see a big producers of tomatoes in Quebec yesterday, and now they have a sector that's just organic, Savoura Bio. So I went there then to help them to do the protection of their plants. So
Hmm.
in organic biocontrol, in fact, we know by history what pests could attack. Like tomatoes, it will be whiteflies. It will be russet mites, tomato russet mites. It will be also sometimes spider mites. It will be some thrips sometimes, um, things like that. So knowing that, then we build the standing army, the
Yep.
bodyguards that are waiting for pests. So that way it works best.
Hmm.
And these will supply them with pollen or ephistia eggs or other
Hmm.
treats, so they maintain themselves.
Yep.
The predators that we want to be waiting for these pests to show
Hmm.
up. If we intervene curatively, that meaning that we didn't have a protection or anything like that in place, and the pest shows up and they started an infestation, that can
Hmm.
sometimes really get out of hand very rapidly, especially
Yep.
with aphids, things like that. Aphids like quadruple their population every day in good conditions. Like the mother is pregnant of a baby that's pregnant of a baby, they reproduce
Yep.
asexually at most of their lives. So they just clone themselves like a factory. So it can get out of hand very fast. So if you know you're prone to get aphids, then you should have a banker plant
Hmm.
that's waiting with parasitoids of aphids that are just doing the rounds, patrol everywhere all the time.
Yep.
So the first is to know your history, to know your settings. So every farmer that we meet will adapt our plant to their how they work, what they produce,
Hmm.
is their substrate, what is their lights, natural sunlight or artificial lights,
Hmm.
what is the length of the photo period of the day, because certain predators will go into a diapause if we have less than 12 hours sunlight every day. So we'll put everything in place. Then after that, after preparation and prevention, identification is key. So we need to know the pests we are finding. Is it a friend or foe? Especially all the greenhouse with open vents. Some have netting, but some have not. So sometimes there's good insects that will show up, like braconids, which are natural parasitoids of aphids that nobody sells, but they just show up from the outside and they get into the greenhouse. So there's always these. So you have to need to know your friend or foe, always, because sometimes people would send me a picture. What's that? I said, oh, don't touch it. It's a good one. It's an ally. It's a beneficial. Oh, too late already. Stepped on. No.
Well, I know I sent you a picture, or a few different pictures over the years, and you've always helped me, Claude, and that's that really means a lot. Is people can contact you, send you pictures, and you're going to help that person.
Now we have even now better. It's even better now because we have a new colleague on our team, an amazing guy, Dr. Amijo Archie. He's a Persian guy that went around the world. He lived many years in Korea and in Russia, and now he's in Canada with his lovely wife and their children, and they're taking care of the Leamington area in Ontario. He's a world-renowned archaeologist and entomologist. He has a PhD. He's a doctor of meteorology, and he's amazing. And he's such a nice guy, and he's so passionate. And he discovered more than 200 new species of predatory mites. His field, his focus is Mesostigmata order. So this is the order of predatory mites. So he found new species, even in Canada. And we're working on a new one. I cannot tell more. I cannot tell its name. And it's going to be even more aggressive than Swirsky, which is the main mite that people are using in greenhouses. Anyways, so next year, I think, or maybe late this year or early next year, we have a new mite on the market that's native from Canada.
Cool.
That's another advantage when we find local mites, and that's his main focus doing that. And it's also how to differentiate. When we have predators that are attacking prey. It's the same thing on the microfauna to the macrofauna. Yep. So meaning our predatory mites, comparing it to lions and panthers and things like that.
Yep.
Each species has a percentage of success with its hunt. So making it a more efficient predator. So one of the species of mites I was talking about before, Galolaps versus Stratolelaps. Stratolelap was found in BC, but was also found everywhere else. So it was commercialized around the world by all the other companies, Copper, BioBest, and so they all. But Galolaps was never found anywhere else in Canada. So it's limited. So we're one of the few companies that has it. The difference between the two mites in their anatomy is very impressive, because when they hunt, they have two corniculi, call it. They're like kind of pins. They will pin the prey they catch to grab it and start eating it. Stratolap is two long pins. But Galolaps looks like devil's horns. They're really, really like you can see the difference even if you don't know about the anatomy of mites, because it's a really big, and the picture is enlarged from an electronic microscope to see the differences. And the other part is Cheliceras. They look like lobster claws. These are other appendages they have, mites. And this is used to grab prey or grab eggs, things like that. And the first species, Stratolelap, that's popular around the world, you see, it's I only have a couple of teats on its claw, like a
Yeah.
dentile, I think it's called in Latin. Anyways, estracea, it's just a couple, but gelolaps, it's a full row of really like.
Yeah.
So it's the claw like really grabs very so.
It's going from a house cat to a cougar. Okay,
Exactly.
you know.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Well, and that's the thing, you know, in the species development, in any species development, there's that next stage where, you know, that bird that was just a sparrow goes to the eagle. You know, it's
Mhm.
always a progression. So it's fantastic that it's been found, and we're able to use that next generation, um, because Mother Nature always wants to get better.
Mhm.
Now, I know I love the story you told. I think it was on our first show, Claude, where you guys went out on field trips, and you guys don't just go out for a barbecue. You guys go out with magnifying glasses, etc. You run around. You're looking for different and new life forms. Like you said, your new compatriot there has found
Exactly.
like 200 different species around the world. Like, that's phenomenal.
Yes.
So you guys are really, you know, if you're doing it right, are creating a bug ecosystem in,
Mhm.
say, like a tomato grow, especially the, you know, the indoor environment, and yet you still have more of these predators coming in. Would they be something that you should be looking at, to put into your mix because they're wanting to be there?
Exactly. Because people that don't know much about biocontrol know, first of all, about ladybugs. That's a
Mm-hmm.
symbol, in fact, of biocontrol is the ladybug, the ladybird beetle. Um, but some, it's not always a good predator. I mean, meaning indoors, it's not
Mm-hmm.
a good predator usually, because usually they will go burn themselves on lights, things like that. And we have other predators are more suited for vertical farms or
Mm-hmm.
indoor grow ups, like your own grow up for your medicinal plants or herbs and spices or cannabis or whatever. Or
Mm-hmm.
people are doing hydroponics or indoors. A lot of licensed producers in Canada are indoors. They have the bunker sized like rooms, things like that. Everything is artificial, it's controlled and everything. Um, but so depending on the
Environment.
exactly we adapt the
Yeah.
bugs that we be using for that environment, um, and so uh, for like let's say outdoors we will intervene with certain bugs,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but they're much more limited. We don't have as many that will have success with like boosting. In fact, we're boosting the population
Yeah.
of predators in a monoculture crop outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say we have a problem in strawberries with trips, things like that. We'll introduce Aureus, about 20,000 per acre. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but there's already Aureus present naturally in the field, but we're just boosting the population to take care with the inundative, like
So you're sending in the military to
okay,
restore order, and
exactly,
this field is ours, boys. You can't eat here,
exactly,
okay?
exactly. And for let's say for organic farmers to get rid of caterpillars and borers
Mhm,
used to use BT, but BT is too generalist. It
mhm,
kills all caterpillars. Now we have something better. It's
mhm,
the trichogramma wasps. So these tiny little wasps go and bore. They go lay eggs in the eggs of the borers or the caterpillars.
yeah,
We have 4 different species. Usually we use the because we raise them on plates, and they're
mhm,
like with FSTI eggs. And then we have rooms for different species, and these will trichogramma wasp will go all lay their eggs in the FSTI eggs, and then
mhm,
we harvest these eggs that we glue on cards.
mhm.
So this size is about 4,000 pupae,
Okay.
and this is on a cardboard card that we staple with a hook, and then this, or with a stick. With the stick, we'll be using garlic against the garlic, some garlic pests, the leaf moth, and the other ones will be used in the organic sweet corn against the corn borer and the budworm and things other like, and the same for cannabis, because the corn borer should have been named the hemp borer because it arrived with the early settlers, and it met corn, pepper, tomatoes, and eggplant that it started to parasitize, because before it was just in hemp in Eurasia. This pest, the corn borer. So the corn borer, my customers in the Maritimes are really hit hard. In Quebec, a bit. In Ontario, a lot less. Out west, they don't have that pest, but they have other types of caterpillars that could be a pest. So we use a mix, tricho mix, that we put 2 or different species of pupae on the same. And these could also be, let's say, in cranberries. They use a reservoir with some water and with some xanthan gum, like a natural gum, and they put trichogramma, and then they will just go with a tractor or even like a all-terrain, like a
ATV, all-terrain vehicle,
with a ramp behind, and they just spray these trichogramma over the field. They just go in the rows and they spray that. Or now we can use in bulk in a drone or in a like a cellulose capsule that biodegradable. Looks like a little Saturn planet. And there's 2 holes. We filled like 4,000 pupae inside. They load the drone, and then the drone just goes over the field and drops them every 100 or every 1,000 square feet or 100 square meter. Every week during the period of the pest. So it's very simple. They used to take a lot of time, but these really big field, we're converting companies that were using just chemicals over their fields to use that. And now it's cheap enough for them to, and they have the demand in ways that the people don't want any more pesticides on their food. So thanks.
Well, going high tech and going to the drone and that makes it in a lot of ways so much easier for the farmer. Now, once you've applied this for, say, a year or 2 or 3, 4 or 5 seasons, does that balance? Do you need to keep buying this every year? Or is this something that will generally come back if you're not killing them off?
No, that's it. It depends on the species. Like trichogramma wasp, you have to use them every year. They won't establish themselves. So they're just, and that's why we have to, during, let's say, the corn borer, the period of it, like during that many weeks, we have to be sure that every week, and if we have to catch the leaf moth, we will always want to be in advance, like a week in advance, because if the trichogramma does get the egg and then the larvae emerges from the egg, then we cannot do anything anymore.
It's too late already.
Too late. Then the farmer, if it's the organic, you'll have to use pinosad or BT to try to kill that caterpillar if you want to kill it. So especially the ones that are doing leeks, because the foliage has to be perfect. Garlic, it's okay. It can manage after it's produced its flower and everything. Then it can manage. It's okay, that pest. But for leeks, it's very important for them to. So we need to be in advance so we don't miss the window. And then it's too late, and it won't work, with that method. So it's really important to know when the pest shows up, and then when we have to show up with our solution. An example of a predator that we can introduce in a field naturally that's already indigenous and might have not have been at that area is an example in Neosilus fallacis, which is a predatory mite that we use against spider mites and brown mites. And these, let's say you have a traditional strawberry like a June berry, like you have one harvest a year, early summer, mid to midsummer, traditional. That's with rows that are just with straw. So hence the name strawberry.
Yep. Yep.
And then, but now more and more they use ever-bearing
Varieties.
yeah, that's the neutral strawberries that are on rows that are covered with plastic, and they just these plants just pump from May to November strawberries all the time, like they're ups and downs, and they manage with different varieties, so they have strawberries all year, like a much longer
Actually,
season.
my parents, we had a large organic strawberry farm in Alberta here, and we used both the different types of berries. We actually used geese
Oh
to
yes,
actually for the weeds, and I think they took care of a lot of the bugs as well that
exactly,
were
exactly.
pests.
Oh yes,
Yep.
totally, totally. Yes, they will clean up. Yeah,
Mhm.
good. It's a really good method to use if you have you can do it. Um,
Yep.
that's it's weeds and pests, and also so that predatory mite, if we introduce it, let's say in a traditional strawberry, it will be there the years after for 2 or 3 years, because
Yep.
usually a field of traditional strawberries, if it's in good shape, I've seen farmers even go to 4 to 5 years, but then produces a lot less, and then you have other issues that show up, like the root disease or things like that, depending on
Mhm.
how your soil drains. But that's another thing. But
Yep.
meaning that when you introduce them, especially in raspberries, which is more a permanent field that lasts
Mhm.
like more than 10, 15, 20 years old, the farmers they see them again the next year, the
Mhm.
phalanxes. So they're there, they're present. We like inoculated, we introduced them, but they're from Ontario. So
Mhm.
they're found across Canada. So in fact, we're just bringing them back, or like, so they established that way. So a couple
Mhm.
of them will do it. We have the soldier bug, the
Mhm.
spin soldier bug, that looks a lot. If you don't know, it's very similar to the pests, because in these bugs they have some that are predatory and some that are pests, and
Mhm.
we use them against gray worms. Gray worms can devastate a field in one night if there's enough of a
Okay.
population, and they're all tiny plantlets or seedlings of, let's say, cabbage or broccoli or
Mhm.
lettuces or things like that. They come out and they chop a lot of the plants while they're trying to feed on them, and they
Mhm.
come out at night, so you don't see them. In the morning, oh, the farmers arrive in an area of
What
the.
happened to my field?
So this last year was the first year we introduced Podysus maculomentris, the spine soldier bug,
Mhm.
and I helped a lot of people in the north west of Quebec, in the BTB region, and they, because of climate change, I don't know, there were 4 different species of gray worms. They never
Mhm.
have issues, usually them. Uh, if there's any, like a couple of them, like, but this year was like 2024 was crazy,
Yep.
and I had a solution finally for them. So I sent some to some farmers, and the number of, it's just 100 per acre we need. It's not that big of a population.
Yeah.
It's not that expensive too. Uh, about 30, $50, I think. But I don't remember on top of my head the price
Yep.
we're selling them. But anyways, people when and they will show up again this year.
Mhm.
They will hibernate. They will be, because they're already naturally present. So I
Mhm.
believe. So I'm waiting. I can't wait to see the farmers, if they see them right away in the field, uh, because they're kind of big. I mean, they're bug sized. I mean, but
Yeah,
you
they're a
can,
larger arthropod.
exactly, you can spot them easily. And my customer, the 2 ladies I've sent them to, they were able to take pictures of them
Cool.
attacking gray worms, can I use your picture? Because you
Yeah.
see the bug is tinier than the big gray worm, but
Mhm.
it's still able to harpoon it like that, and then
Yep.
starts to suck its juices out.
Mm.
We have that's it. Dr. Joashi has started to do. We have them on our Instagram. We have our YouTube channel too, and we have them on LinkedIn. Every
Mhm.
week there's new videos of bugs in action. So
And that's on your LinkedIn or on your LinkedIn, Claude,
other
or on
companies,
Anatis?
other companies, yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
that's the
Yeah, every
company one.
week there's a new videos of bugs in action.
Cool.
That's it.
I I think that's really interesting. I know a lot of our audience really likes, you know, the microscope videos and seeing it under the microscope. But this is the next level, guys, because once you've got your biology set, the next level of life we need to look at is the arthropods, and then going up and up and up, because it's just a more collection of cells for a larger bug, and then they turn into birds. And if you want to get rid of bugs naturally, you need more birds, so you need more food. Like Lily was mentioning this morning, there's a bird on our property, we're hearing its call that we've never heard before. So we are, you know, introducing new species or bringing back species. You look at Yellowstone. Do you remember the Yellowstone where they took all the wolves out, Claude?
Exactly.
And then they had this major problem. They had to get wolves and bring them back in. And that's what you guys are really doing, is bringing in that balance, or, back into the situation. Now, I know you guys have banker plants for
Yes.
specific reasons. Are you matching plants across Canada with, the habitats these bugs need to be able to keep them going year after year?
Exactly. We have different ways to do it with other crops, like say like where I was talking about strawberries
Yep.
before. So even like in big fields of strawberries, with many, many rows, now they plant some alyssum and
Hmm.
flowers and other types of flowering plants that will
Hmm.
provide nectar, pollen, and habitat for all the predators and the beneficials.
Hmm.
So that way, even greenhouse growers, some in them, and even the greenhouse capital in Canada, Leamington, they have these islands of biodiversity, even outside the
Hmm.
greenhouses, the glass,
Good.
glass houses.
Yeah.
So they know they'll favor the the balance of biodiversity around their greenhouses. So what will come in when they vent the greenhouses will be more beneficial than pests that will
Hmm.
be introducing themselves in
Yeah.
the greenhouse. Um, Indoors, we have different. We've been since the beginning, since I've been with them. That's my 6th year now. Um, we've been selling barley plants that
Mm.
are. We inoculate them with with grain aphids. These grain aphids only attack grains or monocot plants. They
Mm.
don't attack dicot. So these will serve as a breeding farm for aphidius, different parasitoids of aphids. And so the farmer orders the first tray, and then in fact, it's just like if you're doing some a sourdough bread or some kombucha, we're just
Yeah.
selling.
Yeah.
In fact, it's inoculate because
Mm.
the people have time to do it. Some people will just reorder banker plants from us, but I mean, some people will take that banker plant they receive from us. They already had sown either their oats, barley, wheat, but barley
Mm.
works better, um, or other kind of grain that they will like stick their plant to ours, and then it
Mm.
will just because the barley plants last about 12 weeks, I would say. If you just keep
Mm.
it in a container, you have to renew it. You have to take care of your banker plants. That's another important thing. When you have a banker plant, you have to take care of your banker plant. So drip irrigation will work good for a banker plant. Uh,
Mm.
you have to feed it. You have to know that its pattern, what it needs. Let's say, because the second most important banker plant that we have for greenhouses is mullein.
Mm-hmm.
Use first year mullen. So we started to with some association with some other growers they will supply us all the mullen plants that we need. Certain big complex of greenhouses in Leamington, they need 4,000 mullen plants at the time, and you need 40 per acre. So of these plants. So these plants, you have to know that they don't need rich soil, very alkaline. You don't need to water them often. Just a little drip sometime will be just good enough for them. And they have very velvety leaves, and they are the home for Deciphus. Deciphus aspidus is a mirrored, but it's a hemipter. It's a very, very good generalist predator, and it has very long legs. It's able to fly, it walks, and it's able to walk across trichomes of tomatoes, of cannabis. So it's a very good predator that will be able to walk and not stick, because with tomatoes we have very limited number of predators we can use, because it's a very irritative plant for many predators. So the Cyphus, it will hydrate itself on the mullen plant. It will feed, it will also breed on it, and we will feed it with Ephistia eggs. They're sterilized Ephistia eggs. And these Ephistia is a type of moth. So these moth eggs serve as food for many predators across the industry, our industry. And so we supply them. And when you supply them the Ephistia eggs, it will boost their population, like they will multiply. So we feed them Ephistia eggs on these mullen plants. We can even sprinkle some of the Ephistia egg, let's say, on the tomato plant, or little bio boxes, little cardboard box that we hang in the plant. So it will serve as food for them when they have nothing else to eat. And these Deciphus, they eat, especially white flies, they eat aphids, they eat thrips, they eat spider mites. They will even go for russet mite. And for cannabis, people, again, because almost every cannabis growers, like more than 90%, have trips once in a while or all the time. It's very common, especially out west. Out west, they have even another issue. It's all the canola and wheat fields around them. And once they harvest them, they have swarms of trips, even for indoor growers. They want to get in the buildings. So other growers across Canada have to watch the plants they're bringing in their facility. They're doing ornamentals, or they receive their vegetable transplant from a propagator, or they get them the cannabis clones, or everybody has to do a quarantine. Everybody growing indoors or greenhouse should do a quarantine of an incoming plant material all the time. Even if the people they're getting it from have a good reputation or they're honest, they might not know what happened a week ago. Plantation, nobody spotted it on time, and now they have broad mites multiplying in their plant. And broad mites is very hard to see if you don't do a real thorough screening with a good 80 time power, like a magnifying power
glass,
exactly, to see that you have that. So you should assume that everything that you're bringing in, new cultivars of this new wonderful purple flower, or new cultivar cannabis, or these new tomato plants, or you have to check everything in a quarantine room, make sure, and then when they're cleared, you should do a preventive dip with something organic, like a Bovaria or things like that. You dip your transplant in it, then you're sure they start clean. Then you can bring in your, I've seen so many places that were so nice, so clean and balanced, and then they, we want to bring in this new strain, this new cultivar, this new type of tomato, this new cannabis strain of the flavor of the month, or so they bring, and oh no, they brought in aphids, hand processed mite.
Well, and that's why the quarantine is so important. In that indoor facility,
Yeah.
because you look at Europe, and poinsettias is a really good example. Their bottom line is so tight that if they get an infestation, they can lose their entire business
Yes. Yes.
because of it, because they lose their entire crop. So over there they've got really good IPM measures. Over here we've been pretty lax, but now we've got a way to understand how to do things better. We just have to take those steps and build that quarantine room, and a lot of grows don't bother to do that. I'm glad that more people are. But
Mm-hmm.
Claude, we got 15 minutes left.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at, for a home gardener, just growing, regular vegetables, etc., and a whole different mix of crops in their backyard. What kind of solutions do you guys have for people like that just want to do preventative?
I bet start with diversity. Start by
Mm-hmm.
knowing what you had, like just a commercial grower, what's your history, what you're prone to get um, in your crop. The more variety, the more biodiversity you have, the more flowers you have, the more then you're sure to bring in the good guys, the
Mm-hmm.
beneficial, the predators, everything, the pollinators. This start with. If you're a home grower, let's say we have a lot of home growers that buy our cards or trico cards, we call them, against the leaf moth for their own garlic and their own things like
Mm-hmm.
that. So there's certain, but we have own size formats of certain
Cool.
and good information enough on the website to know which bugs you could buy from others. Because that's it. I work with Anatis, but I also recommend a lot the natural insect control in Ontario, and I see they were there 20 years before almost than us, and they've been there
Yeah.
forever. Really nice people, and they have the best nematodes in the world. They do in vivo. We distribute their nematodes to have other companies because I needed the bigger, larger commercial format of nematode for
Yeah.
people. But for the home grower, they're the best nematodes you can use against grubs and different pests. They grow them in Ontario, on their farm
Mm-hmm.
in Ontario. So I really recommend an IC too. It's to learn to read a lot helps. We like you said before. We were talking before about the pictures. People don't hesitate to send us your picture to my email. For us, it's a game. It's always a challenge. Who is going to be the first one? But now we know we have knowledge the team already. They were there, but with Dr. Jurashi, you always find the exact species.
Yep.
We try to get the best, clearer picture. It's free. We just do it as a service for the community. I do it. We do it a lot too. We do a lot of research and development. Um, there's a pest called echinotrips that's very tough, very persistent with ornamental growers. So this grower last week in Quebec asked me, "Yes, I have issues with this pest. Swirsky doesn't work well that much." Nah. I said, "Okay, we'll try Anatis. We know the crazy mite and Anatis may control well echinotrips, but I didn't really test it. So I asked our partner applied. He said, yeah, let's get them 2 free containers. So we're
Mm-hmm.
doing a trial. So there's going to see if it works. So we always helping either with a small grower or with the private firms or universities. We're always doing some research and always doing
Cool.
trying to improve our methods, trying to find new predators, like we talked earlier about. So, and also do a lot of education. So we're doing now the Anatis Academy. So every week there'll be an on-site presentation. Now for now it's just Leamington. We hope to bring it to Quebec and BC soon. So there'll be sessions like free lunch. People can show up, and then we'll film this training session, this workshop, and so I have it live. So on our YouTube channel, you can find I did one presentation about an hour long about just greenhouse strawberry IPM.
Okay.
People can check that on our YouTube, the Anatis Academy. So we
Now,
have
can they get to that through the main website to your
yeah,
YouTube channel? I don't have your YouTube link on here.
Yeah, exactly. Then
Okay.
on the website they'll find our YouTube link, and
Cool.
we're changing things where we want to bring the videos to on our website directly too. I mean, to the main website, but for now, people could access through the link of our YouTube. They can find it there. And I also teach schools. We do that for free. I used to do the Kenville College. Did it for Ave and New Nova Scotia, the cannabis technician program. I did it also for a regular agricultural college in Quebec, in Joliette. I went to see the students there. I always travel whenever, and it's free for them. I mean, either there would be like one school this year, there were 150 people, and people online too at the same time. And then last week, there were just 8 students, but it doesn't matter for me, like to teach transmit my passion and to teach them about biocontrol and IPM is very important. So.
Well, and that's one of the things is you are, and your whole company is very passionate about this. And, a lot of companies just want to make money, but your company is a little bit different because you would rather fix the problem and not have to have that person come back. Then you can focus on new people because you're literally, trying to reinvigorate the biology and the biome of our planet by introducing this level of life back into the environment, because they were there, like you're saying, you're just bringing them back in and giving more of a workforce, but this has always been here. It's just needing to be reintroduced. The monocrops have really done a number on us, and a lot of the pesticides, herbicides in different areas. Now, I know that that you have the small banker plants. We've talked about proliferating more of them, keeping them going. If there was one plant that was attracting a beneficial species, is there one plant that you would recommend that a normal person can grow?
Alyssum.
Elysium?
Yeah, Alyssum. Yeah. Alyssum. Lobula maritima. It's a very, there's some that are white flowered, and there's tiny little flower, and they keep producing flower, and they're so rich in nectar and pollen and everything. So that really attracts, and it can really nourish if you like hot peppers, I would have hot pepper baskets, like because they are really good for Aureus, which is a nice predator of thrips. Thrips is one of the most common pests in all crops across the world. So when you have nice ornamental peppers or hot peppers, because they have more flowering site, so you just have a hanging basket in your greenhouse or your little patio or whatever when you have next to your plant. This will attract. Outdoors sunflowers is amazing too. There's many borage, whatever. You try to build a mix of flower. Again, the more species you have, the more like different flowering time. But you tend to, that's it, like Alyssum, choose some species that are ever flowering. They're very nectar rich. So that way, but you don't use them in every crop. Like Alyssum, I recommend them for cannabis because there will be petal pollution. So the petals, wet petals will file off and stick in the flowers. But for strawberries, it's amazing. It doesn't matter to the fruit. There's tiny white petals that just fly around in the greenhouse. So we base the banker plant system according to the crop too.
Yeah. Well, like they're small, compact, and slightly spreading in the habitat. So this is obviously a perennial plant that's going to keep coming back every year. So it's one of those things, guys, where we're bringing in the environment. It's like we had these companies decades ago that created these enclosed biomes that they were trying to proliferate and live in. They found they were lacking the biology, they were lacking the life forms that promoted life. And this is where we can affect now our entire habitat for our species, which is the earth, our planet. We can bring this life back in to balance with a little bit of work. And like there's a lot of farmers that have areas that they're not actually able to get their tractor on, the corners and stuff like that. These are plants that they could plant in there. They could plant along the ditches, on their property that they're not, cultivating, that are going to help. Claude, like there's so much more to this than people understand in allowing these life forms, both on the bug side, I guess would be the easiest way to put it, but on the plant side too, to give them that habitat. We talk about habitat for our microbiology is the organic material. Well, we need to take that thought process to the next level and start including these higher life forms into the mix. So Claude, you guys do courses, you're doing talks, you help teach the children. I respect you guys and your company so much because you're going to that level, and you guys have a wonderful heart, and environment within Anatis and the subsidiary companies you're working with. We've only got 3 minutes left, so give me something I don't know, Claude. What's maybe the future look like in your opinion?
For sure, we'll be using, and we can't step aside from that. I mean, all the technology, the AI and things like that, the cameras, the detection, the things like that. For sure, we'll need to use what's good for us with that. Like I did some work with some companies with the 4K cameras that could detect pests in the field, things like that. I also were some people that used to work with us. They have these drones that could hunt specific species and just kill them with their propellers.
Okay,
Yes,
that's a new one.
yes, they will go and find so they call pats, and they're in the Netherlands, and they had this problem with the certain moths and big greenhouse complex, and they just have these drone hunting. So this is to learn also. That's it, to learn more about the species, like Dr. Joashi is doing, finding new species that are native, so they're more balanced with us. Trying to learn, like that's it, how to rebalance our ecosystem, biodiversity, plant more native flowers, have native flower gardens everywhere for all the pollinators, the monarch butterflies, things like that need. So we need to plant all these native flowers and bring them back. And like even the field farmers that have big fields, they used to like clear it better for their tractor or whatever. Now they're bringing back the rows and replanting trees for wind barriers, to bring back good, nice species, good
microclimates as well. They're creating.
Exactly, bring back birds, things like that.
Well, and it's amazing that there's more and more people doing this globally, because our understandings are getting to this point where we know we need these things to stop doing the way we did it, and get back to the way it is done naturally, and we can help that process. And that's what, if you guys have or think you're going to have issues because you had pests last year in your garden, take a look at Anatis, take a look and see what they have for those predators, and try to get that broader spectrum you know, into your environment to help balance, you know, your entire grow, whether it's indoor, outdoor, and it doesn't matter what you're growing, you know, other than, you know, like the tomato plants, the cannabis plants that have the different mechanisms built in, that you're going to have to get more specific, but reach out to Claude, reach out to Anatis to get your questions answered. Claude, brother, as always, I appreciate you guys so much. Um, and we'll stick around. We'll talk more after the show. But guys, tomorrow I have Sam Baker from Wiggleworm coming on to talk about how that product was developed. I think it's going to really surprise you guys that you can take, you know, the popcorn beads you'd find in packaging, have biology, eat it, and get a product that is going to help your plants out of it. But Sam Baker is going to talk to us about how his team has done exactly that tomorrow. And then Leighton's going to go into the second half of his life experiences, and we're going to actually start talking about the biology side that he has learned, the soil stuff that he has learned. So that's going to be a very, very interesting conversation tomorrow, guys. Appreciate you guys all. Claude, of course, love you, brother. And guys, we will see you tomorrow.